Okay, you're on.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for another week of The Legal Line. We have a great show today. Again, we come to you every Thursday at 3:30. We come live to you every Thursday at 3:30 on Facebook Live, the law offices of Theodore, London. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay tuned. We have a great show for you today.
Good afternoon. This is the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. I'm Cliff Kelly, and of course it is Thursday, May 3rd. We are on iHeartRadio. All you need to do is download the app to your smartphone or tablet and take us with you wherever. You can also go to WVON.com. And when you do that, we always ask that you participate in the daily listener poll and view our current video. You can call us direct, 773-591-1690, and of course you can get social, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Well, we are always pleased to have 330 Focuses the Legal Line with attorney Theodore Ted London, our neighbor, with offices right across Stony Island at 1718 East 87th Street. And he does such a great job, and we're always pleased to have him. Counselor, how are you?
Well, Cliff, if I'm with you on a Thursday afternoon at 3:30, it could be nothing other than a pleasure and a privilege. Thanks so much for having me again, Cliff.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
And you know what I do normally, but we're not going to do it today because the counselor is always looking forward to trying to help people, and not only in the legal profession, but in other ways also. And you know how I normally start, but today's going to be a little different.
You know, Cliff, I'm so excited about today's show. But before we get into the meat of our show, let's go to Sashay and let's see if there's any announcements you want us to share with us today.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Cliff?
Good.
It's good to see you. So,
and you too.
Attorney London has a busy weekend on Saturday. Please come out to True Foundation Transformation Church. Attorney London will be speaking with Pastor Larry Brookins about getting your house in order. So that is on Saturday at 1 o'clock at True Foundation Transformation Church, which is 8801 South Normal Avenue. So if you have some time on Saturday, please come out. He will also be speaking on Saturday at 3 o'clock at the We Care Foundation, which is located at the Summit Community Task Force Center in Summit, Illinois. So this is another event that's free to the public. You're more than welcome to come, meet Attorney London, hear some great information about estate planning. And those are two big things going on Saturday that we would love to see you at. Once again, we are streaming live on Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn at the law offices of Theodore London. We have lots of great information and pictures. If you want to send your questions to our Facebook page or to the LinkedIn, we will always have Attorney London follow up with you and answer them for you. We also post any speaking engagements on our YouTube channel. So if you aren't able to make it, you can always check out our YouTube channel for more great information.
That's great, Sasha.
Well, I have a busy weekend this weekend.
Yes, you do. Well, and the thing is, you do all this pro bono.
It's such a pleasure to be able to be invited to share information with our community. I have to take a quick opportunity, Cliff, before we get started, to thank Pastor Randall Blakey for inviting me to speak to his Near North Unity monthly meeting. So I joined them on Monday to share some information about estate planning, and have to thank Alderman Waltersburg. Of course, have to thank you for showing up too, Cliff. Everyone was so excited to see you.
Listen, I loved it. It's actually took home a lot of food.
I saw that, Cliff.
She was sitting at a table.
I saw that.
But I saved it for you, didn't
you? You did. I appreciate that, Cliff.
Yeah, I saved it for you. I said, no, we can't have her going home hungry. But it was a great event. Good people and good things. Yeah. Well,
again, I'm so excited to get started in this May month, Cliff, because for every Thursday of the month of May, we're having a different African American business owner on to share information with the African American community about running a business and starting the process of becoming an entrepreneur. And today we have someone on who so many of you know. He is Mr. Bruce Montgomery of Operation Hope. And again, one of the things, Sase has just really linked me up to so much social media, and so I'm now on LinkedIn. And absolutely everyone that I'm associated with is friends with Bruce Montgomery. So, Mr. Montgomery, welcome to the Legal Line with Ted London, Cliff Kelly.
My pleasure to be here. It's always nice to be here in the WVON studio, and especially on this show, which is so important and vital for our community, because without this quality information, we cannot move forward. And I respect Cliff and certainly respect you, Attorney London.
Mr. Montgomery, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
So, Bruce, why don't you get started? Again, you know why we're here. Again, our objective is to share information with the community. For me, primarily African-American men, to encourage men to start businesses, run businesses, to strengthen our community. What information and encouragement can you give those listening on how and why they should start their own businesses?
Well, first off, I would like to say that I am come from a third-generation entrepreneurial family. Something like that. I know my grandfather was an entrepreneur, was a farmer down in Arkansas, rice and beans, and that was my family's business. And then my grandfather had about, 13, 14 children, and my father was one of them. And after the war, he decided that he didn't want to be a farmer. He wanted to come to Chicago. So he was part of that great migration, came to Chicago after the war, started a family, and was one of the first African Americans to have a business. He was one of the first in the laundromat business. Had a laundromat on the west side on Madison Street, and then later a dry cleaner called Poly Clean Center, which is still, the building is still there today. And many people know of that business right off the corner of California and Madison. And so I kind of grew up in a business home. And I also want to give props to my mom, who was an early graduate of the Kellogg School at Northwestern. Oh, wow. But when she was coming out, of course, a lot of the talented folks in our community did not have opportunity to go downtown or to an Arthur Anderson or a First National Bank. So she worked at Illinois Service Federal. She worked as an accountant, bookkeeper, and tax preparer. And she worked at Joe Louis Milk. And also, I can remember growing up in home, and my mother would have these calculators and adding machines, and the old kind where you pulled the crank and ran the paper, and I would go get the rolls of paper and fill them back up, and she'd be doing taxes and all kind of stuff on the dining room table. So that's kind of the environment that I grew up in. So I guess I had an early baptism in the desire to be in business for myself and be an entrepreneur, and I've had kind of in and out experiences with both ownership and with working for corporations, and I can say working for yourself is better. Right. So I can maybe I've been spoiled, but I certainly like to believe I can work in teams. But we're at a very pivotal point in our community right now, where entrepreneurship is not only an opportunity, it's a very important step that we must take in the sustainability and the growth of our own community. We've got to be responsible. You know, some people say perhaps our parents were too successful because in sending us to college and sending us to these schools that we could get in, we thought that, well, we were rubbing shoulders with all the rest of these varsity guys, that we might as well go try to get on Wall Street and get these corporate jobs. And that worked out for a little while, but it left us in the lurch in our own community, because some of the greatest businesses that we've established in Chicago did not have succession plans. And after some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the history of the United States moved on, oftentimes their business did not move on. Because I can remember, like right where we're sitting, you know, across the street, Mr. Gardner had Soft Sheen, and when I was coming up, thousands of people worked at Soft Sheen, and companies like Mr. Gardner's and Johnson Products and all Bush Construction, all these guys, and I grew up watching all these guys, many of them from this community that I grew up in, Chatham, were starting these businesses. You know, Mr. Gardner started Soft Sheen out of his basement. And I could remember my uncle, who was a principal, they were very good friends, and I can remember him goofing around with these little jars and all that kind of stuff. But he was on a mission, and that mission was very, very successful. So we can start businesses, we can scale businesses, we can grow business, But now we've somewhat lost our momentum because of lack of continuity. So now we're at that kind of reinitializing the activity of starting a business. And it's not the same thing that it was before. We've got to do some new things today differently if we're going to be successful in business. And that's what I hope we can talk about today.
Well, I certainly hope you will, because you know the way. Just they're doing something there, thank goodness. Now I don't know what it is, but it hasn't been occupied in I don't know how long. It looks like somebody may be doing something with it. But we had all these great businesses, and so what do you think happened, Mr. Montgomery? I tell you what I say all the time, and you can tell me whether I'm wrong on this. White folks say, "Oh, we'll take your money," because when I grew up in Washington Park. There was nothing but black business.
Absolutely.
And they all, in fact, Joe Louis Milks in Washington Park, they all worked well. The way it looks now, you want a third airport, you could put it there, you wouldn't have to tear down a building.
Unfortunately, that is the case. And you're absolutely right. When our Bronzeville and our black community and our Washington Park was all contiguous, and that's where we were, then we had it going on. I mean, Jitney was 50 years before Uber.
That's right.
So don't tell me that we don't innovate.
That's right.
We're all about innovation. But like you say, now that we can spend money everywhere, it seems like now we can't stop. And so now we have to become conscious. We have to start thinking about some things and make some new decisions. So like when Ted and I were talking before the show started, what it took to get in business, 50 years ago, when I think about one of the great businessmen, Mr. Collins, who started Food Basket and of course was one of the original founders of Seaway Bank. Right. Well, what he did 50 years ago, it's a little different today. We can't just, unfortunately, throw a few dollars together and start some things and have a storefront and kind of grow from there. We've got to be more methodical. We've got to plan. We've got to have a strategy. And like Ted said, in my classes that I teach, I've been teaching entrepreneurship in the community in Inglewood for the past 2 years. I run a program called Operation Hope, the 12-week entrepreneurship program. Last Saturday, I just had my 4th graduation. Over 30 people finished that 12-week entrepreneurship programs with business plans, access to capital plans, marketing strategy. What Ted, now you would have thought Ted was in the room because he said, Bruce, how many of those guys were guys? And the truth is, of my 30 graduates, about 26 were women and 4 were men. And that's been kind of the same. It's been kind of an 80-20, 80-15 kind of number for the last 4 classes that I've had. Now, that's actually not a bad thing, because when women start businesses in our community, they seem to have an understanding that it's not just about them. It's about a team. It's about a network. It's about creating jobs. And so I think that our brothers are in a good position to catch up with that kind of awareness, that it's not, I got mine, you get yours. That is what's undermined our business success to this point, where all these rugged individuals want to be out there by themselves, and I did my thing my way. Well, that's how things used to be. How it is today is you in what army? You better have somebody on your squad, because nobody is a success at marketing, at accounting, at finance, at legal, at IT, at all these different things it takes to be successful today. So the real winners today are those that can build great teams and create jobs for our young, talented people that are coming out of schools in droves. And now guess what, Cliff? They're not going to Sears anymore. They're not going to People's Gas. They're not going to the state of Illinois. Why? Because those folks ain't hiring. Right. And so these newly minted MBAs from Howard and Hampton and Morehouse and FAMU, they need to be working for you and me. The only problem is we don't have some help wanted signs for them, and that's our fault. So now now that we know better, we need to do better and do something about it. And that's why I'm on this show today, is to say there's some things we can do, because believe it or not, capital is available. Money's available. You and I both know, they just revived Illinois Service Federal, right. Refunded, relaunched. Mm-hmm. We've got other people out here like these community development financial institutions, CDFIs, that have capital in their hands, and are ready to put out there. Our own treasurer, Mr. Summers,
Kurt Summers.
been fighting to get some money in his hands ever since he became treasurer to say, why can't some of the taxpayers' own dollars be reinvested in businesses in their community? Nobody's listening to him, but he's been hollering. Well, we need to be demanding, give it up. That's our money.
Yeah.
We want it. Yeah. And he and the treasurer of the state of Illinois both have programs that are ready to put capital in the hands of entrepreneurs with good plans, good ideas, especially those that are going to create employment.
That's great.
You know, Bruce, I want to make sure that you have time to tell us about the Operation Hope Entrepreneurial Training Program. Tell us about that. Tell us about how people can sign up, get information about it.
Well, that program got started in the Inglewood community when the launch of the Whole Foods came over there to 63rd and Halstead. And because of the Whole Foods Foundation and because of the residents of the Inglewood community, they wanted to see some things happen differently. So for those of you that haven't been by that Whole Foods store, you will notice when you walk in that store that the entire employees look like they're from the community, because they are. So you won't find more African-American employees in any Whole Foods store in the United States than right there in Inglewood. But also, 35 products on the shelf are also from the community. Salad dressings, cookies, cakes, sauces, products that are made right here in our community. And that proved that we could cut it when we had the opportunity. So thanks to Whole Foods Foundation, they said, if this kind of entrepreneurship is bubbling up in a community like Inglewood, we want to support that happening. So they provided the resources that we could bring the Operation Hope model to Chicago. Now, I was in Chicago already, and I was working with the Greater Inglewood Community Development Corporation, helping them get their technology act together. But then when this opportunity came to work with entrepreneurship, I took advantage of it. And so what I've been doing the last 2 years is running a business accelerator program where every 12 weeks, I do about 3 cohorts a year. I just graduated my first class. Businesses come, they sit down, they talk with a few business counselors and some mentors, advisors. And that's another thing that really is different about business today. You don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're getting out here. There are people out here to help you, like the Law Project, where lawyers do pro bono work to help people understand how to get an LLC. And recently, the LLC fees have been cut in half, so they brought the prices down for incorporating and getting your business started correctly legally. So what we do is we help people in 12 weeks to rationalize their business plan, create a business model, understand how they make money, understand how they make a profit, get that plan on paper, also look at their credit report, understanding, are they going to be in a position for somebody, you say you want $10,000 to start a business. When's the last time you balanced your own checkbook? When's the last time you pulled your credit report from the credit reporting agencies? Are you really ready for capital? And we find that I am so impressed because, just like Ted said in our previous conversation, we've got school teachers, university professors, people that's been on the job 20 years, 600, 700, 800 credit scores, money in the bank. They are ready to go and got good ideas and good plans, and just with a little direction and a little mentoring, I had one person get approved for $150,000 and was referred to my program by the bank. The bank said, look, you need to go over there and get your act together. So this is one of the best times for entrepreneurship that I've seen. And Cliff, partly the reason is we've got so many unmet needs in our community. Like you say, you drive around these great streets, Cottage Grove, and you got empty lots. And everybody's talking about when it's time for a graduation party or a special event, we got to go out the neighborhood. Why? And spend money somewhere else. We got the buying power. You know, our good friend at the research company, she tells us that our buying power is almost $1 trillion. That black buying power is in the billions. And everybody else knows it but us, because we're going everywhere else doing business instead of doing business in our own community. Now we're going to make a difference. And so if anybody wants to be involved with the next cohort of the 12-week entrepreneurship program, all they've got to do is call 312-725-8601. That number is 312-725-8601. And just send a text. And send a text and say, hey, I want to get the information on the upcoming entrepreneurship program. I've got a business idea. I'm already in business. I know I could probably do a little better. I know I could grow a little better. And this program, guess what? Is for the whopping cost of free. So there is no charge to be involved with a hands-on 12-week business program where you will end up with a business plan, with a business binder, with your stuff documented, and you will get introduced to capital sources. But more importantly, Cliff, what we've got to do is we've got to rebuild the fabric of talking and doing business with each other. That's what we've got to do.
You are great. You really are.
Thank you.
Ted London, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Montgomery.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you know what? You can go and you can refer your friends to our Facebook page, the Law Offices of Theodore London. This is going to be on, and you can see this as many times as you like to see it. Thanks so much, Cliff. We'll see you.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Ted.
Yes.